There's so many reasons for energy efficiency being so important. Overall, we want to reduce our dependency on imports of energy from Russia and Mid East, and I'd say one of the easiest way to do so is basically to use less energy. So energy efficiency and energy efficiency first is sort of a new and very useful mantra in all this, because in order to reduce our dependency, reduce imports, well, let's start with using less energy, and thereby increasing energy efficiency is of vital importance to realizing the energy union, and at the same time reducing our dependency on Russia and other imports.
The European Union, the European Commission and the European Parliament and the Member States have a considerable challenge ahead of them and an opportunity. Next year we're going to revise the energy policy of the European Union, where reduction of demand is a very important element. In order to get there, buildings need to play a central role. The Energy Performance of Buildings Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive will be instrumental in bringing us to a low carbon, low energy society. This is why we organize this event this afternoon, and this is a good basis to work from, to get in dialogue with people. Bringing people together, looking for solutions, will bring us the solution we are looking for next year.
Efficient buildings are actually important because they allow the energy use to be drastically reduced, and that helps to meet the energy and climate targets in the building sector. At the same time, we could see in a study we performed that energy efficiency in buildings can actually also help the energy system to supply this energy in a renewable and effective way. So that actually energy efficiency in buildings, by lowering demands and by lowering peak loads that are required to supply these demands, can actually help a resilient energy system to supply that energy that is needed.
I think first of all we need to make sure that the existing legislation, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive and the Energy Efficiency Directive, are really properly and effectively implemented. There are many great case studies out there where smaller legislative areas, municipalities, cities take action and have very innovative programs in order to support the financing of renovation or to encourage people. We need to replicate those more and more, and so member states need to collaborate more closely together to share these best practices.
Well, it's only efficient buildings that really tick all the boxes. We can not make so many carbon emissions from our buildings by renewables or even by nuclear, but unless we actually tackle our buildings and the amount of energy that's wasted in them, we're not doing anything about fuel poverty, we're not doing anything about energy security. And it's these things that also matter. And it's only when we tackle our buildings that we can really drastically reduce the amount of energy that we need across Europe, and that holds the key not only to cutting greenhouse gas emissions but also to really getting rid of fuel poverty once and for all, making Europe secure so that we don't have to import energy from outside, and also it is one of the activities that can most promote growth and create jobs.
I think efficient buildings are important because Europeans, we spend 90% of our time in buildings. It's a place where we work, where we live, where our children play and learn. So that's very important that those places are being comfortable in the first place and as little as possible impact on the environment. The Commission has a lot in hand to help building renovation. First thing is probably to try to find out what sort of long-term target is achievable by 2050, 2030, in terms of building savings. We know the potential is there, it's great, and member states have a lot, and a lot of technology that's there. It's very important that actors also work together to raise awareness, to form decisions that are going to impact the future of our buildings.
I think actions that should be taken at EU level to further building renovation include revising the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive to take more account of existing buildings and the huge potential that they have to contribute to economic recovery, to reductions in energy demand, to reductions in CO2 emissions. As campaign director of the Renovate Europe campaign, the 37 partners that I represent and that support the campaign would like to see a renovation directive at EU level. A directive that introduces a mandatory requirement that is properly framed, that uses the trigger points in the life of a building to ensure that we capture the cost-effective energy savings potential that buildings possess now and in stages throughout the decades to 2050, so that we achieve an 80% reduction in energy demand by 2050 at EU level.
Renovating buildings is of course of great importance if we are to increase energy efficiency, if we are to reduce our energy consumption. So when heating up our buildings, when using energy in our buildings, it's such a huge share of our overall energy consumption. So for obvious reasons, we have to be better in terms of saving energy, and this requires of course also renovating our building mass.